Thank you. Very, very kind. And that was a lovely exercise. I feel very relaxed and very zen, so worthwhile doing. Just wanted to thank you for having me here today. I've only got 10 minutes and I really want to make sure that the time is valuable for you. So I've taken a practical approach to my presentation, if that's going to be suitable for you. And what I think of when I think of creative resourcing is trying to do a lot with very little. So what I've tried to do is build a bit of a talk around planning and how to kind of build the best structure you can to raise or generate money and inside a not-for-profit. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. For me, the base of fundraising is kind of anchored around a quote by a gentleman in our field who is one of the best ethical fundraisers ever. His name's Hank Rosso, and he talks about fundraising being the gentle art of teaching the joy of giving. And if you're working to generate money and it's hard slog and you're hating it and everything's going wrong and it's painful and you're crying or you're under a table, stop, because something's not going right. And it's probably your plan or your approach. So we're going to touch on a bit of that. Some of the kind of anchor points for me in terms of good fundraising are stakeholder relationships and having really strong, positive relationships, obviously, and stewardship, it being meaningful. Kiwis are terrible at stewardship. It's one of the things we do the worst. We take the money and then we're not very good at ongoing thanking and following up. We are very under-resourced, so that's definitely one of the reasons. And expectation management. Often things become a problem because somebody expects something different to what they get. I think it's general in life, that happens to all of us. So if we can manage expectations, I think we're all going to be winning. In New Zealand, we are generalists. We are not specialists in terms of our fundraising, and that's a good thing. Don't feel bad about it. If you don't know everything about major gift fundraising and you're asked to go and look after a major gift, don't suddenly shut that down and go, but I don't know what I'm doing. We do have I guess we're lucky that we are able to be generalists and work across multiple streams. I'm a real purist in terms of fundraising, so what I'm going to talk to you about today is the real kind of nuts and bolts of fundraising, not social enterprise, not impact investment, not social bonds. Those are all fantastic things. That's just not what I do and know. So real purist kind of fundraising chat. And the base point for you to think of is that fundraising is 95% planning and only 5% asking. So if you've got it flipped around the other way, that's probably why you're under the desk crying. So just slow down, stop, plan, think, and be quite measured. So through the slides, I do a little bit around the landscape in New Zealand and what's happening in terms of fundraising internationally and in New Zealand. A little bit about revenue streams so that you can hopefully go away and kind of build or piece together some kind of a plan if you don't have one already. And then a little bit around resources and tools. It's a lot to get through in 10 minutes and now I've probably got about 7, so off I go. A tiny bit about me first. So I've been working specifically in fundraising for 10 years and in Canterbury. So my business, or I have raised around about 20 million in 10 years. And my business has been going since 2012. And we've worked with over 80 different not-for-profits. That's a lot in a short period of time. And over 70% of those are from Canterbury. So a really good feel for what's happening here on the ground. And if any of you have questions or anything, you can just reach out to me at any stage in the next coming months on email, and I'll certainly answer questions for you. These are a snapshot of some of the clients that we've worked with. So some are international, some are national, some are very local. And the fundraising landscape, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because I want you to have context around, we give a lot. So Kiwis give about 2.78 billion. That's based on the last study we have, which was undertaken in 2014 and funded by Philanthropy New Zealand. Unfortunately, there is no more of those studies to be done in New Zealand, and something I think we probably need to address is getting good data around statistics. But yeah, the last study was done in 2014 and there's no future ones. But the breakdown of giving works that personal giving is about 55% of the total pie. Personal giving including bequests, regular gifts, one-off gifts, major donations. Business giving is 3% and trust and foundations is 42%. And I would guarantee most of you are sitting in the trust and foundation space because everybody is. And what we really want to try and enable people to think of is there are other options and other ways to diversify and kind of widen your fundraising reach whilst remembering you're a generalist and it's okay to tap into other areas, but be planned and precise and be careful about doing it. Don't ask before you plan. So internationally, there's been a decrease globally in giving, which is a tiny bit scary. Not a massive decrease, but enough for us to go. That's one of the other reasons we want more data for New Zealand to understand what's happening here. In Australia and the UK, fewer people are giving more money. That's actually not a bad thing. That means there's more interest in impact and what that money's going to do, and so more money is going from fewer people. In terms of giving, we currently rank 4th per capita internationally, which is from the groups that were part of the study, which is really good. Like, we give a lot here. You know, there's a lot of money here and we give a lot of money, so don't worry about that. And the biggest component of giving is personal giving, not trusts and foundations. So you can access that space and don't be afraid of it. I'm not going to read all these points. The key thing in all of this is that post-quake, everyone thinks that we lost, there was a big decrease in giving. There wasn't. Between 2011 and 2014, giving stayed around about the same in New Zealand overall. And the thing that changed was the breakdown of corporate giving, which was increased as one-off gifts post-quake, and then the balance out of more personal giving, which has increased up until about 2014. We also, the other key stat here is that 24% of New Zealand charity income is from philanthropy. That is higher than most of the other countries that were studied. You know, that's massive. So what that means is if your pie looks like some government contracts, some fee for service, some fundraising, we had the highest overall philanthropic giving. That, I mean, really is quite significant. We give, we love to give, but we're not Americans when we give. You know, we're not into all that. We're quite different here culturally, and we should embrace and love that and work with it, not try and not be ourselves. There's lots of charities, you'll know that, you'll have heard it for years. Fundraising isn't sales. So whenever I talk to clients, I try and to be creative, effective, resourcefully. Think of an engagement with a person that loves what you do and cares about what you do. And your purpose, if you're trying to generate money, is to ethically, respectfully and appropriately move them up the pyramid, to put it really bluntly. You know, that's kind of what the point is. That has to be done in the right way, and you have to know who you're talking to because you've done the research. You're not just going to ask randomly. And let people be part of the joy that happens when they make a decision to connect with you. They're entering into a relationship, much the same way that when you go on a date, you know, you might be like, hi, come and meet my mum. Or so let the donor, don't actually get them to meet your mum, you know, because that would be a bit weird. But as far as the charity goes, think of the charity as the person that they're engaging with and want to develop a relationship with, and let them. Don't put up doors and walls and, you know, just let them have access and feel part of your story, your vision, and let them in. But also, they don't just have to give one way once. Because somebody gives you $20, that's probably a bit of a test. Receipt them, do all the things you're supposed to do, but ask them to give again once you've spent the money where you said you were going to spend it, and once you've, you know, kind of started to build that relationship. And then ask them to give again. And then ask them to give $20 a month for a year. And then ask them, if you've got a building project, to give you, if they are able to and you've done your research, a significant donation. If they have a business, invite them to engage through corporate sponsorship if they're the managing director or have a position where they can support you, and then let them leave you money when they pass away, because that's their legacy. That's important to them. That's meaningful to them, and they care. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered developing their relationship with you. Yeah, so I'm really into that. Other key points, probably the two biggest things, and you will hear this from every funder in the history of New Zealand, is impact. You know, what outcomes will you enable in your organisation with our support, with our financial support? If you don't know what that is, really, really do spend time on that, and preferably with your board as well, so that they can actually understand what some of the key messages are. And then vision. What is your clear long-term ambition? And, you know, make sure it's achievable, but make sure you all understand what that is, and again, your board understand what that is too. Particularly the major donor market will want to connect into vision, because that's the big, you know, that's if I had $5 million, this is what I can do in 20 years. This is the change I can make. That's huge, you know, and for a donor to be part of that journey and all they have to do is put money into it, that's easy for them if it's the right partnership, if it's the right connection point. So think about those things as well. Fundraising streams, I won't talk about all of them, but I really just want to give you a sense that outside of, well, we've got trust and grants here. It is really important. Let's not not be silly about it, but there are other options and other ways and vehicles in which people can give. So when you're building your plan, think about what is going to be given my unique shape, size, structure, how many people I have, how many supporters I currently have, what might work in terms of streams I might target. Where should I spend my time? You should definitely spend your time in bequests. If you're not now, you should definitely do something there. That's a long-term revenue stream. It won't generate the return until between, say, 5 and 7 years of starting the program. But if you do not start it now, you will never see a return. And internationally, bequests and regular giving are the two largest generators of not-for-profit revenue. So you just need to get in there. And the other thing is, because we have an ageing population, people are getting married more often, they're giving their money away while they're alive. And then a lot of people are starting to set up private trusts as well, which means that money carries on doing good after they go. The traditional bequest pie is starting to look a bit different. So access it, get in there, but don't, and 95% planning, 5% asking, so make sure that that occurs in the right way. And probably don't do payroll giving, just put it out there. It hasn't really taken off as well as it could have in New Zealand. It's a bit unfortunate, but I wouldn't invest too much time and energy there. If you get those gifts, that's fine. But I'd probably think just more broadly that bequests, building up your base of one-off gifts and regular gifts is really important. That's database. You need to know who the people are and have the right people asking. Good trust and grants work, but more strategic. So ask fewer groups to give you more. Don't just write more applications. If you think each application is going to cost you about $500 to write, that should hopefully stop the ones that are $500 applications, because it won't be that effective. And then major donors, I would say get into understanding a little bit more about that as well, because those become real key partners that you have. And as I said, personal giving in New Zealand, there's certainly a significant amount of money there to be had. Resources-wise, you will need good key messages, not just comms messaging. Donor-centric key messaging is slightly different. It's something that evokes the emotion of a donor to get them to really want to connect and give. And it's a slightly different way of writing. But it's really important to get a sense of that. A case for support is, what is your cause proposition? Why should people want to give to you? If you don't know, you can never tell them what that is. So really make sure that that is kind of worked through. And policies, fundraising policies are really important. I know that sounds a bit boring, but they really are. A good communications plan, but not a whole 50-page document. It just needs to be a timeline. I flip communications so that it supports your fundraising objectives, not communications driving fundraising. So prioritise it down. A database, online presence, human resource. You must have somebody. It can't do it all electronically and online. It just will not happen. And then board engagement is absolutely critical to successful fundraising. And if anyone wants to talk more about that, I can certainly talk about that for days. And I think that's all. Phew! Did I even go over? I don't know.